The Tale of Tobit, son of Tobiel, son of Ananiel, son of Aduel, son of Gabal, of the lineage of Asiel, and tribe of Naphtali. In the days of Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, he was exiled from Thebes, which is south of Kadesh Naphtali in Upper Galilee, above Hazor, some distance to the west, north of Shephat. I, Tobit, have walked in paths of truth and in good works all the days of my life. I have given much in alms to my brothers and fellow countryfolk, exiled like me to Nineveh, in the country of Assyria. In my young days, when I was still at home in the land of Israel, the whole tribe of Naphtali, my ancestor, broke away from the house of David and from Jerusalem. Though this was the city chosen out of all the tribes of Israel for their sacrifices, here the temple, God's dwelling place, had been built and hallowed for all generations to come. All my brothers and the house of Naphtali sacrificed on every hilltop in Galilee to the calf that Jeroboam, king of Israel, had made at Dan. Often, I was quite alone in making the pilgrimage to Jerusalem, fulfilling the law that binds all Israel perpetually. I would hurry to Jerusalem with the first yield of fruits and beasts, the tithe of cattle, and the sheep's first shearings. I would give these to the priests, the sons of Aaron, for the altar. To the Levites ministering at Jerusalem, I would give my tithe of wine and corn, olives, pomegranates, and other fruits. 6 years in succession, I took the second tithe in money and went and paid it annually at Jerusalem. I gave the third to orphans and widows, and to the strangers who live among the Israelites. I brought it them as a gift every 3 years. When we ate, we obeyed the ordinances of the law of Moses and the exhortations of Deborah, the mother of our ancestor, Ananiel. For my father had died and left me an orphan. When I came to man's estate, I married a woman from our kinsfolk, whose name was Anna. She bore me a son, whom I called Tobias. When the banishment into Assyria came, I was taken away and went to Nineveh, All my brothers and the people of my race ate the food of the heathen, but for my part, I was careful not to eat the food of the heathen. And because I had kept faith with my God, with my whole heart, the Most High granted me the favor of Shalmaneser, and I became the king's purveyor. Until his death, I used to travel to Media, where I transacted business on his behalf, and I deposited sacks of silver worth 10 talents with Gabel, the brother of Gabrius, at Ragus in Media. On the death of Shalmaneser, his son Sennacherib succeeded. The roads into Media were barred, and I could no longer go there. In the days of Shalmaneser, I had often given alms to the people of my race. I gave my bread to the hungry and clothes to those who lacked them, and I buried, when I saw them, the bodies of my countryfolk thrown over the walls of Nineveh. I also buried those who were killed by Sennacherib. When Sennacherib was beating a disorderly retreat from Judea after the King of Heaven had punished his blasphemies, he killed a great number of Israelites in his rage. So I stole their bodies to bury them. Sennacherib looked for them and could not find them. A Ninevite went and told the king it was I who had buried them secretly. When I knew that the king had been told about me and saw myself being hunted by men who would put me to death, I was afraid and fled. All my goods were seized. They were all confiscated by the treasury. Nothing was left me but my wife Anna and my son Tobias. Less than 40 days after this, the king was murdered by his 2 sons, who then fled to the mountains of Ararat. His son Esarhaddon succeeded. Ahikar, the son of my brother Anil, was appointed chancellor of the exchequer for the kingdom and given the main ordering of affairs. Ahikar then interceded for me, and I was allowed to return to Nineveh, since Ahikar had been chief cupbearer, keeper of the Scenerie, administrator, and treasurer under Sennacherib, king of Assyria, and Esarhaddon had kept him in office. He was a relation of mine. He was my nephew. In the reign of Esarhaddon, therefore, I returned home, and my wife Anna was restored to me, with my son Tobias. At our feast of Pentecost, the Feast of Weeks, there was a good dinner. I took my place for the meal. The table was brought to me, and various dishes were brought. I then said to my son Tobias, "Go, my child, and seek out some poor, loyal-hearted man among our brothers exiled in Nineveh, and bring him to share my meal. I will wait until you come back, my child." So Tobias went out to look for some poor man among our brothers. But he came back again and said, "Father." I replied, "What is it, my child?" He went on, "Father, one of our nation has just been murdered. He has been strangled and then thrown down in the marketplace. He is there still." I sprang up at once, left my meal untouched, took the man from the marketplace, and laid him in one of my rooms, waiting until sunset to bury him. I came in again and washed myself and ate my bread in sorrow, remembering the words of the prophet of Amos concerning Bethel. "I shall turn your festivals into mourning, and all your singing into lamentation." And I wept. When the sun was down, I went and dug a grave and buried him. My neighbors laughed and said, "See, he is not afraid anymore. You must remember that a price had been set on my head earlier for this very thing. Once before he had to flee, yet here he is, beginning to bury the dead again." That night I took a bath. Then I went into the courtyard and lay down by the courtyard wall. Since it was hot, I left my face uncovered. I did not know that there were sparrows in the wall above my head. Their hot droppings fell into my eyes. This caused white spots to form, which I went to have treated by the doctors. But the more ointments they tried me with, the more the spots blinded me. And in the end, I became completely blind. I remained without sight 4 years. All my brothers were distressed on my behalf, and Ahikar provided for my upkeep for 2 years, until he left for Elimas. My wife Anna then undertook women's work. She would spin wool and take cloth to weave. She used to deliver whatever had been ordered from her, and then receive payment. Now, on the 7th day of the month of Dystros, she finished a piece of work and delivered it to her customers. They paid her all that was due, and into the bargain presented her with a kid for a meal. When the kid came into my house, it began to bleat. I called to my wife and said, "Where does this creature come from? Suppose it has been stolen. Let the owners have it back. We have no right to eat stolen goods." She said no. It was a present given to me over and above my wages. I did not believe her and told her to give it back to the owners. I felt deeply ashamed of her, to which she replied, "What about your own alms? What about your own good works? Everyone knows what return you have had for them." Then, sad at heart, I sighed and wept, and began this prayer of lamentation. "You are just, O Lord, and just are all your works. All your ways are grace and truth, and you are the judge of the world. Therefore, Lord, remember me. Look on me. Do not punish me for my sins or for my needless faults or those of my ancestors. For we have sinned against you and broken your commandments, and you have given us over to be plundered, to captivity and death, to be the talk, the laughing stock, and scorn of all the nations among whom you have dispersed us. And now all your decrees are true when you deal with me as faults deserve, and those of my ancestors, for we have neither kept your commandments nor walked in truth before you. So now, do with me as you will. Be pleased to take my life from me, so that I may be delivered from earth, and become earth again. Better death than life for me, for I have endured groundless insult, and am in deepest sorrow. Lord, be pleased to deliver me from this affliction. Let me go away to my everlasting home. Do not turn your face from me, O Lord. Better death for me than life prolonged in the face of unrelenting misery. I can no longer bear to listen to insults. It chanced on the same day that Sarah, the daughter of Raguel, who lived in Media at Ecbatana, also heard insults from one of her father's maids, for she had been given in marriage 7 times, and Asmodeus, the worst of demons, had killed her bridegrooms one after another, before ever they had slept with her as man with wife. The servant girl said, "Yes, you. Kill your bridegrooms yourself. That makes 7 already, to whom you have been given, and you have not once been in luck yet. Just because your bridegrooms have died, that is no reason for punishing us. Go and join them, and may we be spared the sight of any child of yours." That day she grieved, she sobbed, and she went up to her father's room, intending to hang herself. But then she thought, suppose they were to blame my father. They would say, "You had an only daughter whom you loved, and now she has hanged herself from grief. I cannot cause my father a sorrow which would bring down his old age to the dwelling of the dead. I should do better not to hang myself, but to beg the Lord to let me die, and not live to hear any more insults." And at this, by the window, with outstretched arms she said this prayer: "You are blessed, O God of mercy. May your name be blessed forever, and may all things you have made bless you everlastingly. And now I turn my face and raise my eyes to you. Let your word deliver me from earth. I can hear myself insulted no longer. O Lord, you know that I have remained pure. No man has touched me. I have not dishonored your name or my father's name in this land of exile. I am my father's only daughter. He has no other child as heir. He has no brother at his side, nor has he any kinsman left for whom I ought to keep myself. I have lost 7 husbands already. Why should I live any longer? If it does not please you to take my life, then look on me with pity, I can no longer bear to hear myself defamed. This time, the prayer of each of them found favor before the glory of God, and Raphael was sent to bring remedy to them both. He was to take the white spots from the eyes of Tobit, so that he may see God's light with his own eyes. And he was to give Sarah, the daughter of Raguel, as bride to Tobias, son of Tobit, and to rid her of Osmodeus, the worst of demons. For it was to Tobias, before all other suitors, that she belonged by right. Tobit was coming back from the courtyard into the house at the same moment as Sarah, the daughter of Raguel, was coming down from the upper room. The same day, Tobit remembered the silver that he had left with Gabel at Ragus in Media, and thought, I have come to the point of praying for death. I should do well to call my son Tobias and tell him about the money before I die. He summoned his son Tobias and told him, When I die, give me an honorable burial. Honor your mother and never abandon her all the days of your life. Do all that she wants and give her no reason for sorrow. Remember, my child, all the risks she ran for your sake when you were in her womb, and when she dies, bury her at my side in the same grave. My child, be faithful to the Lord of all your days. Never entertain the will to sin or to transgress his laws. Do good works all the days of your life. Never follow ways that are not upright. For if you act in truthfulness, you will be successful in all your actions, as everyone who practices what is upright. Set aside part of your goods for almsgiving. Never turn your face from the poor, and God will never turn his from you. Measure your alms by what you have. If you have much, give more. If you have little, do not be afraid to give less in alms. So doing, you will lay up for yourself a great treasure for the day of necessity. For almsgiving delivers from death and saves people from passing down to darkness. Almsgiving is a most effective offering for all those who do it in the presence of the Most High. My child, avoid all loose conduct. Choose a wife of your father's stock. Do not take a foreign wife outside your father's tribe. Because we are the children of the prophets, remember Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, our ancestors from the beginning. All of them took wives from their own kindred, and they were blessed in their children, and their race will inherit the earth. You too, my child, must love your own brothers. Never presume to despise your brothers, the sons and daughters of your people. Choose your wife from among them, for pride brings ruin and much worry. Idleness causes need and poverty, for the mother of famine is idleness. Do not keep back until next day the wages of those who work for you. Pay them at once. If you serve God, you will be rewarded. Be careful, my child, in all you do, well disciplined in all your behavior. Do to no one what you would not want done to you. Do not drink wine to the point of drunkenness. Do not let excess be your traveling companion. Give your bread to those who are hungry, and your clothes to those who lack clothing. Of whatever you own in plenty, devote a proportion to almsgiving, and when you give alms, do it ungrudgingly. Be generous with bread and wine on the graves of upright people, but not for the sinner. Ask advice of every wise person. Never scorn any profitable advice. Bless the Lord God in everything. Beg him to guide your ways and bring your paths and purposes to their end. For wisdom is not the property of every nation. Their desire for what is good is conferred by the Lord. At his will, he lifts up or he casts down to the depths of the dwelling of the dead. So now, my child, remember these precepts, and never let them fade from your heart. Now, my child, I must tell you I have left 10 talents of silver with Gabel, son of Gabrias, at Ragus in Media. Do not be afraid, my child, if we have grown poor. You have great wealth if you fear God, if you shun every kind of sin, and if you do what is pleasing to the Lord your God. Tobias then replied to his father Tobit, "Father, I shall do everything you have told me. But how am I to recover the silver from him? He does not know me, nor I him. What token am I to give him for him to believe me and hand the silver over to me? And besides, I do not know what roads to take for this journey into Media." Then Tobit answered his son Tobias, "Each of us set his signature to a note, which I cut in two, so that each could keep half of it. I took one piece, and put the other with the silver. To think it was 20 years ago I left the silver in his keeping. And now, my child, find a trustworthy traveling companion. We shall pay him for his time until you arrive back, and then go and collect the silver from Gabel." Tobias went out to look for a man who knew the way to go with him to Media. Outside, he found Raphael the angel standing facing him, though he did not guess he was an angel of God. He said, "Where do you come from, friend?" The angel replied, "I am one of your brother Israelites. I have come to these parts to look for work." Tobias asked, "Do you know the road to Media?" The other replied, "Certainly I do. I have been there many times. I have knowledge and experience of all the ways. I have often been to Media and stayed with Gabel, one of our kinsmen who lives at Rages in Media. It usually takes 2 full days to get from Ecbatana to Rages. Rages lies in the mountains, and Ecbatana is in the middle of the plain." Tobias said, "Wait for me, friend, while I go and tell my father. I need you to come with me. I shall pay you for your time." The other replied, "Good, I shall wait, but do not be long." Tobias went in and told his father that he had found one of their brother Israelites. And the father said, "Fetch him in. I want to find out about his family and tribe. I must see if he is going to be a reliable companion for you, my child." So Tobias went out and called him. "Friend," he said, "my father wants you." The angel came into the house. Tobit greeted him, and the other answered, wishing him happiness and plenty. Tobit replied, "Can I ever be happy again?" I am a blind man. I no longer see the light of heaven. I am sunk in darkness, like the dead who see the light no more. I am a man buried alive. I hear people speak, but cannot see them. The angels said, "Take comfort. Before long God will heal you." "Take comfort," Tobit said. "My son Tobias wishes to go to Media. Will you join him as his guide? Brother, I will pay you." He replied, "I am willing to go with him. I know all the ways. I have often been to Media. I have crossed all its plains and mountains, and I know all its roads." Tobit said, "Brother, what family and what tribe do you belong to? Will you tell me, brother?" "What does my tribe matter to you?" the angel said. Tobit said, "I want to be sure whose son you are and what your name is." The angel said, "I am Azarias, son of the great Ananias, one of your kinsmen." "Welcome and greetings, brother. Do not be offended at my wanting to know the name of your family. I find you are my kinsmen of a good and honorable line. I know Ananias and Nathan, the two sons of the great Shemaiah. They used to go to Jerusalem with me. We have worshipped together there, and they have never strayed from the right path. Your brothers are worthy men. You come of good stock. Welcome." He went on, "I engage you at a drachma a day, with the same expenses as my own sons. Complete the journey with my son, and I shall go beyond the agreed wage." The angel replied, "I shall complete the journey with him. Do not be afraid. On the journey outward, all will be well. On the journey back, all will be well. The road is safe." Tobit said, "Blessings on you, brother." Then he turned to his son. "My child," he said, "prepare what you need for the journey and set off with your brother. May God in heaven protect you abroad and bring you both back to me safe and sound. May his angel go with you and protect you, my child." Tobias left the house to set out and kissed his father and mother. Tobit said, "A happy journey." His mother burst into tears and said to Tobit, "Why must you send my child away? Is he not the staff of our hands, as he goes about before us? Surely money is not the only thing that matters. Surely it is not as precious as our child. The way of life God had already given us was good enough." He said, "Do not think such thoughts. Going away and coming back, all will be well with our child. You will see for yourself when he comes back safe and sound. Do not think such thoughts. Do not worry on their account, my sister. A good angel will go with him. He will have a good journey and come back to us well and happy." And she dried her tears. The boy left with the angel, and the dog followed behind. The two walked on, and when the first evening came, they camped beside the Tigris. The boy had gone down to the river to wash his feet, when a great fish leapt out of the water and tried to swallow his foot. The boy gave a shout, and the angel said, "Catch the fish. Do not let it go." The boy mastered the fish and pulled it onto the bank. The angel said, "Cut it open. Take out gall, heart, and liver. Set these aside and throw the entrails away. For gall and heart and liver have curative properties." The boy cut the fish open and took out gall and heart and liver. He fried part of the fish for his meal and kept some for salting. Then they walked on again together until they were nearly in Media. Then the boy asked the angel this question: "Brother Azarias, what can the fish's heart, liver, and gall cure?" He replied, "You burn the fish's heart and liver, and their smoke is used in the case of a man or woman plagued by a demon or evil spirit. Any such affliction disappears for good, leaving no trace. As regards the gall, this is used as an eye ointment for anyone having white spots on his eyes. After using it, you have only to blow on the spots to cure them."